Secretary, can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Kramer?
Here.
Commissioner Lieberline?
Here.
Commissioner Pritzos?
Here.
Commissioner Rawson?
Here.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Commissioner Rodriguez Elkins?
Here.
Commissioner Sperber?
Here.
Assistant City Attorney Byron Sickle?
Here.
Assistant Community Services Director Jim Rundle?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Mr. Rundle, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Awesome. You bet.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance
All right, I'm opening up to general public comment. Does anybody wish to make a public comment on anything?
Well, I'd like to speak regarding the issue of the storage unit use plan on this outpost.
Sure, and we'll have time for you then, when that item comes up. All right. All right, I'll close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve. I second.
All right, we got a move by Commissioner Reed, and we got a second by Commissioner Kramer. Please vote.
technical difficulty.
Still haven't read. We'll just,
Still having difficulty.
I'll do this one.
Yeah, we can do it.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion approved passes unanimously. Can I get a motion for the approval of the minutes, please?
Slow. Oops.
Yeah,
Keeps taking me back.
there's that. Don't want to go there.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Reed and a second by Commissioner Nieberline. May I get a verbal vote, please? Aye. Is that okay? Any oppose? The motion passes. Okay. All right, we're going to general business. We don't have any. We'll go to the public hearing. PCN 15006/PD 23-0006. Danny.
Thank you, Chair Rawson, members of the Planning Commission. Deanie Ray, Senior Planner, here to present this item to you today, an amendment to the Spanish Springs Town Center Plan Development Handbook. So in this slide, you can see in the blue boundary, the location of the 41.65 acre Spanish Springs Town Center Plan Development. It's generally located east of Pyramid Way, and it's transected by both excuse me, Los Altos Parkway and Galleria Parkway. Now, the City Council originally adopted the Spanish Springs Town Center Development Plan Design Standards and Regulations Handbook, which I'll just refer to as Handbook from this point forward, in 2005, which established residential, commercial, community, and park and open space land use categories. In 2016, the handbook was amended to allow modification to the development standards for many warehouse uses in the handbook's industrial land use category. It's located in the 3 parcels here that are outlined in red. So this request to amend the handbook includes, specifically, the current language has been interpreted that a manager's residence is required for a mini warehouse use. Current self-storage industry standards prefer off-site managers that are present during business hours only. Modern technologies such as security video monitoring, alarms, controlled access to the facilities, and other standards provide sufficient security to no longer warrant that 24-hour on-site management presence, just like other commercial businesses located within the plan development. So this amendment seeks to make the use of a caretaker residence as optional. Climate control units regulate both the temperature and humidity of units to provide stable environment for stored goods such as furnishings, paintings, other artwork, and other items that may be sensitive to swings or extremes in temperature and humidity. The current handbook standard is to allow office and caretaker unit building height of 50 feet. That is the current standard in the handbook, allows up to 50 feet when located at least 50 feet from the property line. A mix of 1- and 2-story structures with a max height of 10 feet when adjacent to the south property line, that's adjacent to, and 16 feet for 1-story and 26 feet for 2-story structures in all other locations. This amendment creates development and operational standards for climate-controlled storage facilities, such as allowing an increase in height of that 26 feet to 35 feet when at least 50 feet from a property line. Now, this is less than the 50 feet when 50 feet from the property line that is currently allowed within the handbook. Architectural elements may exceed this height by an additional 12 feet, so it's 35 plus 12. Also proposed are development standards for climate-controlled mini warehouse facilities. Is restricted access to those units, which cannot be accessed from outside the facility. The proposed handbook amendment does not modify any other uses or development standards unrelated to mini warehouse uses described and regulated within this handbook. Hours of operation are currently limited in the handbook to Monday through Saturday from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. No changes to the hours of operation are proposed. So a traffic impact analysis or a trip generation letter was not required, as no uses are being added to the handbook that were not already evaluated in that previous analysis that was part of that 2016 handbook amendment. Adding climate control does not increase the number of trips to this development. And a fiscal impact analysis also is not required because the proposed modifications do not materially change the type or amount of development permitted by the handbook. So various uses, including commercial, retail, restaurant and services uses, and single-family residential surround the planned development. Immediately surrounding the subject site are commercial restaurants, auto repair, a car wash, single-family uses, and a church. So the proposed changes to any architectural or development standards are not anticipated to adversely impact surrounding uses, as these modifications will continue to provide a clear regulatory framework for the already permitted mini warehouse uses in the handbook's industrial land use category. So with that, it concludes the background and analysis portion of the presentation. The amendment to a plan development does have 10 required findings, so if you pardon me, I'll have to go through those for you. So for findings PDA, PDB, and PDH, this amendment promotes compact development within existing commercial land base where infrastructure such as sewer, water, storm drains, and police and fire services are available, supporting both goal MG6 and policy MG1, and provides flexibility in the services offered and provides variety to the existing commercial uses and options for residences and businesses in the plan development, supporting goal EV1 and goal CC1. Adverse impacts to surrounding residents and property owners due to these changes are not anticipated because many warehouse uses are restricted to the handbook's industrial land use category, which is applied to these 3 parcels only. As the lowest intensity use permitted in the handbook for these parcels, the anticipated development is compatible with existing surrounding residential uses. And for finding PDC, fiscal impact analysis again was not required because the proposed modifications do not materially change the type or amount of development. And Pardon me. Findings PDD, PDE, PDF, and PDG. The proposed amendment does not alter the type or amount of development permitted within the Spanish Springs Town Center, and it does not alter the character of the approved plan development. The proposed amendment identifies design standards for many warehouse facilities that are already permitted in the handbook and modifies certain other regulations to better provide for the mutual interest of residents, property owners, and the public. The reliance of residents and owners upon the provisions of the plan will not be materially impaired. The proposed amendment is intended to provide flexibility in the type of construction, operation, and services provided in an already permitted mini warehouse use in the handbook. As discussed above under finding PDB, the proposed changes are not anticipated to adversely affect or impact properties within the surrounding plan development. It does not alter its character. The proposed height of a building without a manager's residence would be similar to the standard already in the handbook for a building with a manager's residence. Finally, as proposed, the changes will allow any interested party to pursue development within the Spanish Springs Town Center in accordance with the handbook, making finding PDI. And for finding PDJ, public notice as required by NRS and the Sparks Municipal Code was given on April 30th. A total of 214 notices were mailed to all owners within the Spanish Springs Town Center plan development and within 750 feet of the plan development boundary, as well as published in the Reno Gazette-Journal. As of noon today, there have been 3 public comments received by staff, 2 in opposition to the amendment, and 1 just offering some suggestions. And staff does recommend the Planning Commission recommend approval of this amendment to the City Council. And if the Planning Commission does approve this item, first reading would go to the City Council on June 24th and the second reading on July 8th. And with that, I am here for any questions, as is the applicant and the applicant's representative.
Thank you, Danny. Do any commissioners have any questions for Danny?
Chair, if I could, just to clarify, Danny, you said we received 2 public comments.
Oh.
Yeah, you said 2. I just wanted
Oh,
to
I'm
clarify.
sorry.
There were
I
3.
did?
There were 2 from a Mr. Rand. There was an original, then an addendum, 1 from a William Rulla, and then we received the 4th one. Just it was more of a general
I counted
inquiry,
the
right?
one and the addendum as one comment.
As 1, but yeah, there were 2 separate.
Thank you
but-
for the clarification.
Okay, thank you.
So is there a 4th one?
No.
Yeah.
There's one with an addendum and then 2 separate ones.
The 4th one wasn't a public comment. It was an email to you, Danny,
Yeah,
just,
some suggestions.
yeah,
Suggestions.
but it wasn't for or against.
Is the applicant here, and do they want to add to the?
Hello, I'm Brody Glenn with Centennial American Properties. We're the developer for the property. I have to say, this is the first time we've done a lot of planning commission meetings and city council. It's the first time I've actually had a seat, so excuse me if I twitch around. Thank you for your time. I was actually chairman of our planning commission for our hometown. We are from Greenville, South Carolina, which is a long way from home. We're doing these climate, what we call limited access climate control self-storage throughout the country. So we've got 40-plus projects going throughout the country. And we come to a lot of these meetings, and city council meetings, and the reason is that when most codes were adapted and when the uses, people didn't think about the use that we have, which is enclosed building, no direct access to the units themselves, and multi-story all climate control. Most of our buildings are 3 stories and about 105,000 square feet. Because we're adjacent to residents, we made this building 2 stories to keep it as low as possible. Most of our buildings have a vehicular pull-through that you can pull through the building. In this particular case, we just did a pull-in, which will allow 4 cars to pull in and then back out. And we're here for any questions, comments, anything you may have.
John, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner John Krompatik. I've been working with staff and with Brody as the applicant client of mine. I have a PowerPoint, but I spoke with staff about it. It's really emphasizes the product, and that's really not the issue of the day, as you all know. We're here for the PD amendment, but I got elevations and site plan, so I was gonna hold it back unless you wanted to see it, and just deal with questions and anything germane specifically to the PD amendment.
Is it under 3 minutes?
PowerPoint?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could make it 60 seconds if you wish. You wanna
Make
see
it
that?
fast, we could no.
Chair, yeah, I think that would maybe be getting outside of the agenda since
Sure.
we're
Yeah.
just dealing with a handbook amendment that would be generally applicable to all three. We're really not approving a specific project, so
Right.
I do worry that would be getting outside the agenda.
It was only to be illustrative to the commitment of the
I
developer,
understand.
But yeah, of course, yeah, just to be graceful with you
Sure.
guys, but if you don't want to see it.
We don't need to see it.
Okay.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, but now I'm wondering if it's outside, it has to do with the height.
No,
That
go,
one
yeah.
would be all right? Okay. So, thank y'all for being here. So, on the back of the units that are planned, are there lights that would shine down into the homes in the
So
rear?
on the south building wall,
South
Uh-huh.
elevation. yeah.
so, so
Chair, so, Commissioner Elkins, your question is specific to the potential development of Main Street. Keep in mind that this is a request to add as a permitted use.
Right.
Mini storage within the handbook. It is
Right.
not the approval of a mini storage facility.
Right,
And as Council Sendall explained, you can ask a question on the height, but it needs to be in regard to the maximum height for mini storage in that handbook. So it would be a question on whether 50 feet is good, whether you think it should be 35, those kind of components, not on an exact building at that site.
right, and I guess.
Or,
trying to figure out
or
how to
whether there are existing light standards under the handbook or something similar, whether that would apply,
Yeah,
which I'm not.
and that's what I'm trying to find out is will the height, if we change the height requirement, will that disrupt residences who live behind, whether it be this project or another?
It's a very difficult question for them to answer on whether it will disrupt
Right,
neighbors.
Okay.
that's pertaining to a particular building. Yeah.
And, Chair, if I could add something for the commission, again, this is a consideration, and we haven't gone through public comment yet, but this is a consideration for essentially some design standard changes in the handbook. There could also be something else that gets constructed there. This is an option that gets constructed on that site. If the commission has a concern over certain standards for example, a mini storage facility, potentially you could request that the use is permitted by a conditional use permit instead of by right, which would require it to come back. Then you could have those design standard discussions that potentially you're interested in.
Thank you.
I'll say this, we've had this issue or question in other places that we've been. Instead of bringing up a specific about this, I'll tell you what we've done in other places. When we're adjacent residents, people don't like somebody looking into their backyard, and people don't like people looking into their houses. We also don't like light pollution. We understand that, and it will be our goal for people not to look in people's backyards and to have as little lights as possible in the rear of the building. That's what we've done in other places. We'll continue to do the same thing here.
Thank you. Commissioners, any more questions?
Thanks for coming in. If you were to have a restriction of 100 feet from residential properties, would that really inhibit your projects in the future? Yeah, feel free to pull up Google. I had to myself. I went out and walked the
I'm actually
property.
gonna pull up
50
the
feet
plan.
felt close to the residence.
You want to see the,
I've got it. Just a moment.
Goes up to about that dirt
So here, just looking at the plan, 50 feet, I think going more than 50 feet would move us really close to the road on the north side. What I would be willing to do is to double the landscape requirements on the south side. We've got about, the plan I'm looking at is not scaled, but it's probably 15 feet. And our buildings are very quiet. There's not a lot of traffic, there's not a lot of noise. You kind of know what you're getting. But we understand that they are bigger in comparisons to other uses. I know buildings can be 50 feet here, but if we do the right kind of buffers and landscaping, the buildings will go away with time. And I'm happy as a part of that is that we'll double the landscape buffer adjacent to the residences. Yeah.
How tall would a hypothetical two-story structure be?
So I've had conversations about that specifically. What we would do is we would try to make the south wall the lowest wall. And so the roofs would slope down from north to south. The parapets would be on the north wall and on the west wall, not on the south wall. Because of the pull-in, we have to have 16 feet clear. That gets us 14 and a half foot clear of the opening. And so we have to have 16 foot clear. The next floor is 10 and a half feet. So that's 26 and a half. Then you got to have some room in there for decking and other things. So our goal would be for that side to be 30 feet-ish. And then the roof line will slope up. This is a pretty big building. It's floor plate. So it'd slope up to the north side, and the parapets will be on that side. But that would be the goal.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I think I do.
Okay, Commissioner Kramer?
So you're looking at, hold on. Increasing the maximum height from 26 to 35, and what you just told me is you're taking the south side from, want to give me that number again, so you want to go from
Well, no, so 26 to 30 on the south side.
26 to 30 on the south side.
Right. And that's not described in there. I'm just telling you, that's what we can do. But usually the way they look at, I don't know about this code, Jim, Andy can tell me if I'm wrong. Usually the way you determine heights is the average height of the roof. And so what we would do is slope it from north to south. So the south side would be the lowest. And that would get us down to that 30 feet or so. So what we would do is slope it that way.
So you're saying the north side would be 35 feet?
Yep.
At max, you'd come to the peak, which would be 35 feet as well.
Peak.
So if you're north side,
So if there's
you're
5
coming
feet of
down,
slope,
and then you're coming down to 30 feet.
that's right. If there's let's just say there's 5 feet of slope. It would come from 35 feet would be the top of the roof on the north side to 30 feet. I think the average height of that would be 32 and a half.
From front to back.
Right, but it'd be 35, and then we'd have parapets, that's the above that. But no, the intent would be for the south side to be the lowest building and drain to that side.
And then you're saying you would double landscape on the south side of the property, being that 50 feet is awfully close to those people that live on the south side of the property. So double landscape would give you what?
So as far as the double landscape, when I say double landscape, so we're clear, double the amount of material products. So if we're supposed to have however many caliber trees, we'd have double those.
Just double that.
Right.
So instead of coming in, instead of 100 feet, like Commissioner Sperber said, you could split the difference, maybe 75 feet.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can figure out how to make 25
So
feet.
that would be something that at the administrative review could be conditioned. I'm trying to, I understand this is a handbook amendment. This is just for the handbook. It's not for a specific project.
Yes, understand the
But
question.
with a project of this type of caliber, it's obvious that there are residents that want a bigger buffer from their property to this particular project property, so that they have that. So our job is to,
From your comments, Chair, if I may ask.
Yes,
answer
please.
the question. Chair, Commissioner Kramer, with the sentiment of your comments, what I believe, what I would recommend is that you put those design standards into this amendment. And that will provide the direction to staff, should they review an administrative
Okay.
review, less so than it would be conditioned, because it would not be code. So it would be outside of code. I would recommend that you put that into the handbook today.
okay.
Yeah, if there are any differences, I'd recommend putting it in the motion. I move to approve as submitted, but with this
But with
change
these
or this
changes.
addition or
Okay.
something like that.
All right, that's.
And also, Chair, if I may, there's been discussion on how the average roof height works. I think Mr. Kompotek, if you want to show some of the proposed designs, again, I need to stress, this isn't a finished project.
Right.
You're not approving this
Understood.
project. But for that conversation, I think it could help explain how that average roof height analysis works or how it's calculated.
And so we're clear too, these elevations will change because we'll take it from per these conversations. I mean, we really and truly, like I said, I was chairman of our planning commission. We really and truly do like to get with staffs and councils and commissions and really listen to their comments.
Absolutely, and I know you want to be a good neighbor.
And it makes the
Absolutely.
project better. I mean, the
Absolutely.
process works and it makes the project better.
Yep.
So just based on this, our plans will change, but this will give you an idea.
Okay.
So here's,
Just one
Can I make a
moment.
comment here?
I wanted to state something. Chair
Yes.
Rawson, if I may respond to Commissioner
You may- Yes, Danny.
Kramer's concerns. I do want to reiterate, 50 feet in height, 50 feet from the south property line is already permitted in the handbook.
Okay,
So I want to make sure that we all understand
understood,
what is currently allowed.
yes.
Okay.
50 feet high.
Is already allowed.
Is already allowed.
it's just
It's
storage.
just for storage, is it? Can I make a comment,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair? And I'd like to address Commissioner Sperbers. I think it's, and thank you, Mr. City Attorney, for permission, because I think it is important, not just, again, let's call these illustrative at best. They are committed on Brody's behalf. But so here's the site plan that shows that 50 feet. And staff just made the key point. We're asking for 35 in comparison to 50 for perhaps the most quietest use that you could possibly put there, right? The quiet side of a building that happens to be climate-controlled storage, no activity on the south wall.
Okay.
Let me share one other exhibit. So there's the illustrative, again, disclosure that this will be part of the AR. But if you look at the south elevation, notice there's the activity side on the west, right? And part of that is architectural enhancement with the articulation. But look at the north side, there's a little more activity you can see. On the south side, and you notice the red that I highlighted near the tower with those windows, there's been a lot of discussion with this particular product when residential adjacency that there can be emission of light there. So Mr. Brody Glenn and he says, you know what? We'll commit to take off those windows on the south side. So just know it's 50 feet, 50-foot setback, 35 height maximum. Brody said 30 that he'd be able to make on the south end, and then no activity.
Right.
It's a very, very quiet interface and very respectful to the citizens, quite honestly.
If you go back to the site plan.
Yeah.
And once again, this is just for talking purposes. But if you look at the road on the south side there, that's for fire.
Right.
Nobody will use that. It will be paved and it will be accessible
Right.
by the public. But on the southwest corner where you see that, the asphalt that goes all the way to the building, we'll have two pull-ins there. And so people will come and pull in there, and most people will go back out to go back to the site plan.
Oh, sorry.
So whatever the road is on the north so most people come down that, they won't go all the way around the building. And so it will be a very, very quiet use. The big thing that we've seen in buildings that we've done all over the country is making sure the buffers are done and landscaping we've done. And we've done that in places where we don't have to, just because it's the right thing to do. And if my parents or grandparents live there, that's what I'd want somebody to do.
Thank you. Any more questions? All right, we're good.
Thank you.
John.
We'll be here, obviously. Thank you for your time.
If I may make a comment?
Yes, Dana.
Okay. Staff has not reviewed those elevations or that site plan. So it's not had any review from any of the divisions or anything. We've not initiated the administrative review process
Right,
at this point. So what they've showed you is not something we've seen.
right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any more questions for staff? All right. We're good, thank you. Mhm. This is a public comment. We'll accept public comment now. Dorothy, if you want to come up. State your name, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
And hopefully not that horrible buzzer.
I
My
might
name's
make a
Dorothy
buzzard up.
White. I live on Papaya Drive. My backyard will be facing the back end of the proposed building. We moved in 2016 when the housing tract was brand new built. At that time, we were told the mini storage was coming in behind, which pleased us. It was supposed to be a single story. Over time, it changed to a townhouse complex, then years of nothing. Now, all of a sudden, as the gentleman said, now a 2-story, prior a 3-story. You already have a huge 2-story building at Ion and Los Altos Parkway, the medical building. It's ugly. It doesn't belong in that neighborhood. You don't need another mini storage out here. You have one down by Winco off of Pyramid Highway. You have one on Sparks, a public storage. Both are huge complexes. Why in God's name do we need to have another mini storage? I appreciate the thoughtfulness in terms of lighting. However, there are nothing but families and the entire row of Papaya Drive, and the lighting will impact the people because of the rooms that are at the back of the house. There is not enough distance between the backyard fences and the proposed building. There also needs to be, having spent years of my life in law enforcement support, there also needs to be plenty of room to allow emergency vehicles back there. Over the years, there have been nothing but problems in that area. Anything from personal trash dumping to commercial trash dumping to recently homeless people trying to start a homeless community over there. It takes an act of Congress to get Sparks PD out there to try to do something. It takes a bigger act of Congress to get code enforcement to do anything. Code enforcement is, we'll notify the property owner, end of story, nothing happens. Since the 2 restaurants have come in over there, the foot and vehicle traffic has increased considerably. There's nothing but dirt behind our house, has been for 8 years. People walk past it, and it has probably increased by better than 50% since the 2 restaurants have come in. You put a building there with nothing back there, maybe a few lights, you're going to have a lot more problems for Sparks PD. That I can assure you without question. The idea of a mini storage, if it were a single storage, would be fine. Anything higher than that, another ugly edifice the neighborhood does not need. Please remember that you have families who have worked long and hard, and we do not need a building there that is going to obscure light. Please change that thing, please. That is horrendous. I hope you will make some considerations.
All right, thank you, Dorothy.
Oh, it's just that.
Yeah, I saw that. All right, anyone else would like to make a public comment? And please fill out that form that right there when you're done.
Okay,
State your name and you have 3 minutes.
okay, I'm Wyla Prey, and I'm a resident on Papaya. I'm Dorothy's neighbor. To her right, as you're, to the left, if you're facing this, if you're in the storage area. I just have one question. In looking at the design of this building and behind it, right now, we have a real serious problem on the property behind our fence. Now, I'm assuming that our fence is on the property line. Is that not true? Is that not what happens? Are all measurements from our fencing?
They should be.
It should be,
Okay,
yeah.
so if the storage unit, right now, we have nothing but weeds and it's a fire hazard.
Right, it's dirt.
It's, well, you can't see the dirt for all the weeds. So every year, my husband goes out and does Dorothy and our back with he gets all the weeds out in case there's a fire. So my question is, from our fencing in toward the storage unit, is that their property to have to take care of? Will the pavement come up to the fence? Or is there going to be a space between the pavement and the fence where weeds will be growing? I mean, are we still gonna have this problem?
Okay,
That's my question, and that's really all I have to say. I mean, I'm not thrilled about this project, but I understand that the builder is thinking about the residents, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
I really do appreciate that. So,
all right, thank you. Can I bring the applicant back up to answer that question? Oh,
It's a
Make sure there's
public,
any more.
it's public comment. If there's no more, you would want to close public
Okay.
comment first.
sorry, I didn't take the
Don't rush.
anyone wish more to make a public comment? All right, I see none, I'll close public comment. The applicant want to come up and maybe address this question?
So I'll say, all over the country, there's a homeless issue, and homeless people show up, it seems like everywhere that's a greenfield site or there's not a building there. We have homeless people that we throw out when we start construction. When activity brings safety, and so building a building there should help with the homeless and all that. As far as the landscaping, there will be landscaping from your fence to our access road. There will be landscaping, that's a requirement of the
Sheriff,
city.
you'll want to make sure he addresses the board, not the public.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That'll be, so there will be landscaping on the south side, and that is a requirement. There's a landscape buffer there as part of the city requirements that we'll make sure we do. And then we will maintain all of that.
Up
as
to the
as we have
property
to.
line.
Yep, up to the property line. Even if that fence, I'd have to get a survey to see exactly where that fence is. It'll be our responsibility to maintain up to that fence.
Sure.
Even if it's a foot on their property, whatever it may be. It's the way we look at it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Are the commissioners have any more questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, wait, do I have to enter the other three public comments?
No, those were part of the packet that was given to the commissioners at the study session on
Okay.
Tuesday and then tonight, so, yeah, I think we're good.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion.
Chair,
Yes.
before you entertain a motion, would you mind if I asked a question of staff?
Sure.
Planner Ray, would you identify how a recommendation on a handbook amendment works for the public? And when this would go, where it goes from here?
Sure. So the Planning Commission doesn't approve a handbook amendment. It makes a recommendation to the City Council of approval or denial. In this case, it would go to, should you approve it today, or I make a recommendation of approval, or even a recommendation of denial, I think if it were appealed, just a recommendation of approval. It would go to the City Council as a first reading, because it's an ordinance. So just a first reading on June 24th, and then a second reading, which is a full public hearing on this, on July 8th. And then the City Council, they have several options. They could approve it as recommended by the Planning Commission. They could approve it with some changes to it. They could remand it back to the Planning Commission, or they could deny it.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that, Deanie.
Sure.
All right, now I'll entertain a motion.
Trying to figure out how to word it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think I want to make a design standard amendment to this, but I'm not quite sure how to word it.
Take a recess.
Why don't
Can we take a recess
why
for a
don't we
minute
take
and figure this
a
out?
recess, a 5-minute recess, and
Please?
figure this out so we can
Yeah.
make the correct motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Calling this meeting back to order. 6:51. All right, I will entertain a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I am ready to make a motion. Okay, I move to forward to City Council a recommendation of approval of the request to amend the final approved plan for the Spanish Springs Town Center Development Plan, Design Standards and Regulations Handbook, PCN 15066/PD23/006, with the change that any mini warehouse use 26 feet in height shall require approval of a conditional use permit based on findings PDA through PDJ and the facts supporting those findings as set forth in the staff report.
Do I have a second?
Just to clarify, Commissioner Kramer, you said any mini warehouse that's 26 feet? I think you meant anything
mini
exceeding
warehouse
26
use
feet,
exceeding
correct?
26 feet in height
Because
shall
26 is
require.
allowed right now, yeah.
Yes.
I think we missed the exceeding, I just wanted to
Exceeding
clarify
26
that.
feet in height shall require approval of a conditional use permit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I got a motion by Commissioner Kramer and a second by Rodriguez Elkins. May we take a vote? Oh, any discussion on it? I see none.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I understand our fellow commissioners' desires on this, but I feel like with the administrative review process, this isn't entirely necessary, so I will be voting against this motion.
Okay. Any others? Let's vote. The vote passes unanimously?
No,
No?
Evan.
Evan,
Evan said no.
Evan said no. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Staff comments and announcements.
The public comment.
Oh. All right. So we got any comments from the public? I see none. I'll close comments from the public. Staff announcements.
No, Chair. Thank
All right. Commissioner comments, announcements? Nope. Meeting adjourned.